Hey 4R Plus supporters, my name is Mitchell Hora. I'm a 7th generation farmer from Washington County, Iowa, and I'm the founder and CEO of Continuum Ag. We're a soil health data company. Wanted to give you kind of the state of the union, kind of an update on the role of carbon markets and how we're going to be able to make money on carbon markets, how farmers going to be able to make money on carbon markets, why are they important, kind of who's the players to watch for, and what's kind of my perspective on this space going forward. Okay, so what the heck is a carbon market? I'm talking about these buy and sell carbon markets being set up by companies like Nori, Indigo Ag, Ecosystem Service Market Consortium, the Outcomes Fund from Iowa Soybean Association. There's a variety of others being developed as well all around the world. But those are kind of some of the main ones really leading the charge for farmers especially. The whole point of a carbon market is that corporate companies, individuals, any funds and organizations, they can purchase offset credits of carbon to offset their carbon emissions into the atmosphere. Those carbon emissions being CO2 or other greenhouse gases being emitted up into the atmosphere, but specifically around CO2 and methane. So we can pull that carbon, pull that CO2 out of the atmosphere and store it in the ground as farmers, store it in the ground as agriculturalists, and the basics for that is utilizing photosynthesis. Plants breathe in CO2, most of that carbon is converted to sugar, and those plants exude it into the ground to feed the microbes. We can enhance this process by utilizing cover crops, by utilizing diverse rotations, by utilizing perennial systems, things like that. And we keep that carbon in the soil by reducing, more so by eliminating tillage. That's how we're able to keep carbon in the soil. The more of these soil health, regenerative, sustainable practices that we adopt, the more carbon that we can hold in our soils. I'm out here showing you, this is our relay crop this year. This is a soybean field, but we actually harvested the rye just the other day over the top of these soybeans. It was rye that was planted as a cover crop last fall. And then we came in a week ago and harvested the rye from directly over the top of the soybeans. That's just one example of being able to keep living roots at all times, always pumping photosynthesis, always sequestering carbon, and storing that carbon in our soils as stable organic matter. So how do farmers participate? I've got fields with a couple of these different initiatives that I pointed out from before, and some others, just trying to feel things out. Basically what you have to do is you submit at least probably 5 years, probably 10 years or more of historic data, and that data would consist of planting records, your crop, planting dates, tillage records, type of tillage and dates, fertility records, especially around nitrogen, rates, source and dates, and then harvest information as well. Rates, again, of what was the actual bushels and yield, dates as well, and then anything in terms of like residue removal, like through baling or burning, or chopping silage. Also looking at organic matter additions through manure, compost, biochar, other organic additions, things like that. So you submit all of that information to these companies, whether that be directly through their platforms, or you can work with a data manager. You can work with other ag softwares that are housing your information for you, and we can have connectivity from those softwares to these carbon markets. You have to get verified by a third-party verifier based on a criteria set typically by nonprofit organizations or government entities. There's a couple of them out there. The Climate Action Reserve has one that's being developed. I was on a working group for that. There's one through the NRCS, through an entity called Comet Farm, where they have their own carbon standards. That's what Nori is using. So things like that, where you have to get verified based on these independent criteria. The verification system is not through Nori or Indigo or one of those players, but it's through another third-party entity that basically comes through and makes sure that all of the data is clean and verified and transparent. So they go through and clean all that up. That's typically a couple $1,000 process. And then Nori or Indigo that data aggregator says, okay, you're verified, and here is how many credits you as the farmer have to sell. Those credits then can go on a market, or can be aggregated through a company or through a network of other farmers where you can sell those credits at more of a bulk price. When you're selling those credits, you're saying, okay, here is what I have already sequestered, or here is what I promise I will sequester based on these management practices. Each management practice along the soil health chain comes with a model of how much carbon you will sequester in your soil, and then as you get verified, they will pay you based on that model to a standard of accuracy. How you can be more accurate is you can utilize soil testing. The bare minimum soil test is a 12-inch deep dry combustion analysis, which is looking at the carbon in the soil, not necessarily just the organic matter, but the organic carbon. 12 inches deep is the minimum, 1 meter deep is even better. Basically, the more information that we can plug into these systems, the more transparent you can be coming off the farm, the easier it is to verify you, the more accurate your carbon reading is going to be, the more credits that you can for sure say, yep, here's how many I have, here's what I can sell, and the more that these markets are going to be able to be scaled, the dollar figures are going to be better for farmers, and these systems are going to be more sustainable within themselves. So how do we tie in as supporters of the 4R Plus program? All of these practices that we talk about in 4R Plus are the same things that these carbon markets are talking. We can help farmers to actually navigate these systems, to get their data to flow easily into these programs. The easier that data flows and can be verified, the cheaper it's going to be for the farmer, the more money they're going to have in their pockets, and the more money we can have as the advisor and as the team to help that farmer to participate in these markets. Everybody's got to be able to make a little bit of a cut off of it. The easier we can make that process flow, the bigger we can scale it, the more money that's going to be in that pie that can be sliced for everybody to have their fair share and their piece of it. But I really hope that overall, at the end of the day, that piece of the pie for the farmer is enough incentive to be the cherry on top for them to adopt more sustainable systems, for them to take a full plunge into soil health, knowing that they now have an additional direct path forward on really being more profitable because of their adoption of 4R Plus or sustainability systems. For more information, definitely happy to chat. I've got some other information on some of my social media and on my website as well at Continuum.ag, and definitely happy to show you exactly how we are submitting some of our data, exactly how our topsoil tool is helping our farmers to get their data connected as well. I do feel like there's some opportunity here, but a good piece to become educated on if you're not already. Happy to dig into that with you. Thanks.